back to coverage here. It is time for Sunday Night Magic here from GP Santa Clara. Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Eduardo Sajgalik, and we are ready for the finals. William Ho, John Martin, Jeremy Frye. They are sitting down against Logan Nettles, Vidianto Wijaya, and Jonathan Anghelescu. And they are ready to go. We're going to kick things off here with Legacy. We know what you want to see. And we've got Jonathan versus Jeremy. The matchup, Grixis Delver on the left-hand side of your screen against Jonathan, who is playing Sneak and Show. We just had a brief chat about it, but I want you to recap for us here, Eduardo. What do we expect to see from these two decks?
So here I would expect Jeremy to try to get a quick Fret underway, something like a Deathrite Shaman that you see here, or a Delver of Secrets. Develop Frets quickly and then just keep up Disrupt for whatever Jonathan does. I think one of the most interesting highlights I've seen into this matchup was an article by Owen Turdenwald explaining that the way that these Grixis Delver decks can, or Delver decks in general, can beat the Sneak and Show decks is to avoid Soul Lands. So City of Traders and Ancient Tomb are really powerful for Jonathan because not only do they allow him to accelerate into Show and Tell, they allow him to accelerate out of Daze and Spell Pierce range. So basically, these lands allow Jeremy's class of cards to be limited to Force of Will. And basically, the more Soul Lands that Jonathan can get, the better, while Jeremy is just trying to put as much pressure as quickly as possible.
You'll see this is pretty typical in the early stages here as Jonathan Anghelescu starts trying to craft that hand, right? We've got the Ponder on turn one. This is not uncommon. And, they generally don't try to just go all in and go for it in the first turn or two, although the deck is technically capable of doing so. They'll usually try to set up, especially Jonathan, who really seems comfortable with this deck. I feel like he's you get the feeling that he's done this a lot of times before. For
sure. Now, something that's going to put the edge to Jeremy Frye here, though, is I've just looked at the standings. So because Third Seed is over fourth, they get the choice of play draw. Mm-hmm. And Jonathan did not make a second land drop. I believe that what Jonathan did, because his island wasn't tapped, that's how I missed it the first time, was he probably scryed, kept top, decided not to ponder to ensure that the card is drawn, and then pondered later to try to maximize his chances of getting a land.
Whiffed?
Yep.
Oh, boy. Double Deathrite Shaman. This better be a land here. Okay, well, he's got a handful of Force of Wills, it looks like. Now, there's a Lotus Petal. Is that just so he doesn't have to discard, right?
He might have had that Lotus Petal earlier. It's quite possible.
Well, I'm just saying he may be up to 8 cards now.
For sure, but he may have decided not to play the Lotus Petal because he didn't want to run it into a Daze. And this way, that's why he would have waited a turn on it.
Okay.
It's true that he could have also drawn it. That's totally fair. But there was no need to jam the Lotus Petal right now. Jeremy Frye only plays one Spell Pierce, and the other counters, Daze and Force of Will, are basically free. So
is there an upside to playing the Lotus Petal earlier anyway? Don't you just normally hold it?
While you would... if you don't want to, when you're short landed, he only has one island. Jeremy Frye saw that he missed a land. He didn't do his land up before playing Lotus Petal, which would be weird because you might as well play it to avoid a Daze.
Sure.
So it's really weird that Jonathan would not do it. So he would know that Jonathan doesn't have the land and would counter this Petal.
Sure. Well, there we go. True Name Nemesis. Clock acquired here for Jeremy Frye. He's also jamming for 2 damage the good old-fashioned way here. Jonathan has some time, but not a lot. It's going to go very quickly from here. Oh, but there's a land. And there's Show and Tell. Oh, but Force of Will, can he protect it? We know he has one.
Yeah, it depends if he has another blue card, but that would be why Jonathan kept this hand. The potential for this Force of the Show and Tell with Force of Will backup.
He discards, exiles a Flusterstorm. That resolves. What do they have? Emrakul versus Wasteland. I know which side of the equation I like there. Does Jeremy have anything that he can do against the impending doom of Emrakul?
Jonathan basically made an Emrakul for free mana, and it's going to be good.
Oh, my God. Oh, man, I love it when my opponent gets a land and I get an Emrakul.
That sounds great.
That is good transaction. And like you said, though, this does tell the story here, Eduardo, of why he kept the hand. He had all the pieces he needed, maybe even a way to protect it, just needed that mana source.
Right, and you can see it here. He had another Force of Will.
Wow, double Force of Will backup. That has to make it impossible here for Jeremy Frye to get out of this. Now, he does have 7 permanents, make it 8. Still not enough, though, right? He's at 16 life.
Right, and attacking into now 12, the True Name Nemesis isn't quite going to get there.
No, I mean, we know how powerful that card is, but it does not kill you that quickly.
Right, so like the 2 Deathrite Shamans would put Jonathan to 8, the True Name Nemesis to 5. Technically, Jeremy Frye, if he had 2 Lightning Bolts, would get there, but...
Boom, Annihilator, 6 on the stack. Jeremy's going to exile some stuff and try to knock Jonathan's life total down, but he's going to be left with just 1 permanent.
Yeah.
Looks like 2.
Take it. I love that hand motion. The hand motion was great there.
That was the come at me, bro hand motion. Well, he does look like he wants to try to draw something specific, but it's not going to do it. Jonathan Anghelescu wins game 1 of his match. Ooh.
Yeah.
Miss a land drop on turn 2. Emrakul the next turn, no problem.
It's all good. All good.
All right, now let's take a look at game 1 here. Vidianto Wijaya versus John Martin. We talked about this one. This is blue-white control in Modern for Vidianto. On the other side, it's John Martin playing Dredge. We like some of the sideboard cards, Eduardo, the rest in pieces specifically for Vidianto, but game 1, does he have the tools to keep off the horde of creatures that John can put out? Now, this is Modern Dredge here, right? We're talking about prized amalgams, and you see Bloodghast, that kind of thing. It's not overwhelmingly powerful, but it is relentless.
Right.
And it is hard to deal with over and over again.
Right. But like this game is going to come down more to John Martin's draw than Vidianto's. Vidianto has a few important cards. The Tension Sphere is capable of taking care of multiple amalgams. And he can both Cryptic to buy a turn or use Supreme Verdict. So these cards do all buy a turn.
Okay.
It's just that Vidianto eventually will run out of them. And it just depends if John can put enough pressure to make that Rally the Peasants lethal, which he has in his graveyard. It's a one-of, but it allows him to basically give 2 more power to all of his creatures and actually put a threat on Vidianto that some Dredge decks, or actually most right now, if you play online, are just not running right now. So most lists aren't running Rally the Peasants this way to deal this extra damage. Mm-hmm. And there's also the Conflagrates. So Vidianto has to be careful not to go too low on life, because then once Vidianto's below 10, the Bloodghasts have haste. The Conflagrates start being a real problem, and there could be a lot of damage coming. The fact that John Martin has 2 Narcomoebas in hand, though,
pretty nasty.
Yeah, that it's not just that there's 2 dead cards in hand; it's also that you can't get them from your deck. It's much less likely.
So here we go, Cryptic Command, and it looks like that was going to counter a flashback Faithless Looting. So he's going to keep that train from rolling, but he still does get back the prize amalgam on end step and pass it to turn back to Vidi. So,
yeah, that was important to counter. Basically, if it had resolved and John Martin had gotten a prized amalgam, and you can see that the order in which he did it, right? He got the Bloodghast first and then the prized amalgam. His plan was, I'm going to get the prized amalgam, this one now, so it's triggered. If I hit another one from my graveyard, my amalgam goes on into play at end step. And then basically Vidianto can't Supreme Verdict away the amalgams. If I hit any other amalgams, I might Dredge.
I see.
So that was a way for John Martin to have pressure even through his Supreme Verdict. By basically going end of turn, prize amalgam, and then there's delayed triggers that would happen at the end of Vidianto's turn.
Tough spot here for Vidi. He's going to cast, well, Spreading Seas, incremental advantage for him, slowly sort of working in his direction. But right now he's facing 7 power. And he's at 13 life here. He's going to need answers, and he's going to need them quickly. 2-turn clock, bang, bang, he could just be dead.
Definitely. If Vidianto takes the hit, which is likely with free lands, then basically he gets to, under 10 is the magical life total that John wants to put Vidianto at, because then these Bloodghasts have haste, and that allows John to do some really nasty things with those fetch lands and like basically go ahead.
He did hit a Bloodghast off of that Dredge of the Dark Blast there, though it will not have haste right now, even if he cracks a Wooded Foothill. So he's just going to go ahead and attack for 7. But we're going to see Path to Exile. I'll actually get it back. But there goes the prized amalgam. No more lands.
Let's see. There's a basic mountain in the graveyard.
And one on the battlefield.
Right. So Dredge usually runs 2. So if you're ever interested when you're playing Field of Ruin or Path to Exile against a Dredge deck, look for the 2 mountains between graveyard and play. If you see them, you're good to go. It's going to be like better than Strip Mine or not give them a land, which can be important if you're trying to avoid a landfall trigger with Bloodghast.
Yeah, which he did avoid there. John just went ahead and shuffled but didn't find anything. And we have hit the stage of the game where Narcomoeba is being hard cast off of Stomping Ground and Mountain thanks to Spreading Seas. We did it.
Vidianto kindly fixing John Martin's mana so that he can cast in Narcomoebas.
If he dies to Narcomoeba, how miserable for Vidianto with Wijaya. Well, you may as well go for it now.
Yeah.
He's going to go ahead and take out the Copper Line Gorge with a second copy. Hard cast Necro.
This is great.
Oh, that is really funny.
So, by the way, the reason that Jonathan got the Dark Blast, I mean, he could have gotten the Darkmoor Salvage, which would have been one less card, but a landfall trigger. But the best reason to get the Dark Blast here is you can kill your own Bloodghast in response to a Path to Exile.
Oh, sure. Or you mentioned the Detention Sphere.
Yes, that's also, well, it doesn't stop Amalgam, but it definitely stops it on Bloodghast, so that's really powerful.
Yeah. Smart. So he's actually got a kind of a weird insurance policy lined up for that type of card. Keep his cards from getting exiled.
Yeah.
And as you noted before, he's at 9, so now that Bloodghast has haste, 2, 4, 6, 7. Vidi says, okay, I guess I go to 2. Are we going to see another copy of Narcomoeba hardcast here?
I don't think there's a need for more pressure, but
doesn't really need it, does he?
No. But Jonathan's pretty far ahead here.
I would keep it. I would keep it in hand.
Yeah. Basically here, he can Dark Blast in response to Detention Sphere, or he could sack his land if Vidianto decides to go for a Supreme Verdict and get back his Bloodghast and deal that pressure. Plus, I believe John has access to Conflagrate. So basically, he's attacking Vidianto on a ton of areas, right?
Yeah,
like the
ton of
Conflagrate,
angles, yep.
yeah, the Conflagrate stack, the board. He can attack on either angle. I think John Martin's probably going to lock this one up.
Yeah.
Vidianto only has 2 lands, and for him to come back, he's going to need like something like Running Cryptics plus that counter spell for the Conflagrate, and it's probably going to be just way too much.
John's drawing a card.
Well, there's no dredge, so
he's out of dredges. Oh,
it's all good. We can just kill him with this Narcomoeba.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. You're right. He does though have all of his angles covered here. Combat would get the job done. There is a Conflagrate in the graveyard as well, and that is going to do it. Game number 1 going to the other side of the table. John Martin says, here, thanks for the spreading seas. Narcomoeba says thank you as well. And that's going to put us back down on Legacy. Jeremy Frye losing game 1 to Jonathan Anghelescu, who looked like he was on the ropes. And that lasted about 1 turn before Emrakul showed up and wiped the board, giving game 1 to Jonathan Anghelescu. So let's see if Jeremy Frye can come back a bit here. Now, not a lot going on Jonathan's side of the board, but that's what we expect to see.
Sure.
But there is a Sapcaster Mage, which looks like it just flashed back a Ponder there for Jeremy Frye as he tries to get something going.
Right. And the point here is that Jeremy has a lot of... If you're worried that he's tapping out, if you're more used to Modern rather than Legacy, that's okay. He has Dazes and Force of Will. So tapping out is not a problem. He can still counter most of what Jonathan does with his counter magic, if it is relevant, if Jonathan can't pay for it.
You rarely see people fight over Brainstorms.
Right.
And that's not happening here. So.
No, I think with the conditional counter spells, it's still hard. I mean, here you don't really want to daze it, and Force of Willing it is it's probably too much.
Mm-hmm.
The more subtle aspect that you might miss out on if you're not as used to Legacy is that Jonathan fetched that basic island. Basically, apologies for that. That was not an intentional pen. Trying to avoid Wasteland.
Oh, avoided Wasteland. And also, I mean, is there a chance that Jonathan has his Blood Moons in?
Yes. So the most important card by far for Jonathan here, post-board, is those Blood Moons. If a Blood Moon hits play, Jeremy is done. That match is ended. If Jonathan in game 2 or a potential game 3 ever goes Blood Moon and Jeremy's like, okay, well, he might as well shake his hand.
GG, right. And getting Islands gives him access to blue mana even if he does end up resolving a Blood Moon. And let's see what he got. This is turn 3. He may be able to do it here.
Yeah. His hand looks very blue, though. It looks like it
I
has...
see a lot of forces down there, a couple of them minimum. He's just going to go for show and tell. Just run that out there and say, okay, well, what do you have as far as counter magic goes? Because if you don't have anything, I could Wow, it looks like it's resolved. And there's Emrakul again and a Gurmag Angler on the other side. All right, we have a one-turn window, but we saw 2 Force of Wills in hand for Jonathan. I don't see how Jeremy's going to get out of this.
There is one way. One way is that one-off Diabolic Edicts.
Oh.
However, Jonathan does
it doesn't do it. So Jonathan Anghelescu is the only one to win a match so far. He's also the only one to even win a game on his side of the battlefield. Logan Nettles has dropped game 1 to William Ho, and we saw Wijaya have a really tough time with that dredge deck in Modern against John Martin. But we're going to sideboard games now, Eduardo, where things can look up strongly for both of those players.
Yep. So
the gates for Logan, get some rest in pieces in there for Vidianto, and it could tell a much different story, couldn't it?
Yeah, the free of rest in peace in Vidianto's list really are gonna help a lot to take over. Even the Elspeth, something as simple as Elspeth, only the Narcobeavas really have evasion, as well as a hardcast Stinkweed, which is where we might see. And like the tokens, like will stop a lot of the pressure from John Martin. Rune Halo is also extremely strong in this matchup. I really like Vidianto's position post-board just because of how strong Rest in Peace is. What John Martin's going to try to do to avoid that, he's going to board in 2 Fossies. He's just good in the matchup anyways and count as Rest in Peace. Nature's Claim, a good way to deal with one of these troublesome enchantments, and Rest in Peace and Rune Halo. Collective Brutality just as a discard. It doesn't get Rest in Peace. That's the kind of unfortunate part. So yeah, he may actually decide not to bring in the Brutalities and bring in the Decays because they are so good against the enchantment suite of Vidianto. This blue-white control deck playing a lot of enchantments, much more than we're used to. I've seen very modified versions of that deck play Ghostly Prison and Sphere of Safety.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's very modified.
Yeah, it's a modern take on the archetype, but yeah. It basically, that deck uses like cards like Spreading Seas and Detention Sphere, and uses Ghostly Prison to essentially make Sphere of Safety goes from you pay Axe per creature to you can't attack.
You just can't attack ever.
Yeah. But no, here we're seeing the more traditional blue-white list that tries to mana deny with Spreading Seas and Field of Ruin. It can happen against Dredge, but because of Dredge's speed, as well as the fact that they have Life from the Loam, it is possible. It's just a lot harder, and they can operate off fewer lands. They ideally want 3, but 2 is possible. So Vidianto's plan is probably not going to be focused on this mana denial, except for maybe Game 2 since he's on the play. It's going to be focused on get this Rest in Peace. So the fact that Spreading Seas cantrips does help him in that sense, actually.
Sure. Yeah, that is the one thing about the Dredge deck in Modern, right, is that when I think of Dredge, right, I think of the more busted, legacy and or vintage versions that can do stuff where you're going, that is absurd. Like, it didn't look that bad a minute ago, and now my whole graveyard is full, and I've got 20 things, and maybe even they're attacking you. This deck is a much more plotting version, right? It's not putting out any broken cards, right? It was vanilla 2/1s, maybe with haste, right? And some 3/3s that enter the battlefield tap. Like, these were not exciting plays, but it can just sort of put that wave again. It feels more like a zombie style strategy where it's just like, we're coming back again next turn. But if you have a permanent way to exile those, they don't really have a whole lot going on. You will have the time to do so.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You don't have Bridge from Below. You don't have Cabal Therapy. You don't have Ignorant.
See, that's what I think of when I think of Dredge. Bazaar of Baghdad, anybody?
Oh, come on, no. Please, no.
No Bazaar of Baghdad? Okay.
Bazaar of Baghdad is also like the answer to what is the most extreme mulliganing strategy in Magic the Gathering.
Truth. That's true. Until I get one of those.
If the card Bazaar of Baghdad is involved in a match of Magic, the percentage chance of having a mulligan either side increases dramatically.
It's true. You're right, because everybody goes for their sideboard cards or goes
Leyline of the Void,
itself. Yeah, that's really funny.
Yeah. But John Martin probably disadvantaged in this game, but in Game 2, it is possible to beat, in Game 3, sorry, if we get there, it might be possible to beat the Rest in Peace. An incredibly fast start with the right Faithless Looting into Cathartic Reunion or something of that sort might allow John Martin to really break through.
Okay.
By almost kind of like that card, Breakthrough. By
speaking of dredge cards.
Speaking of dredge cards, yeah. By dredging a ton, getting like say 2 or 3 amalgams in play, plus maybe a Bloodghast or 2, And then from there, just going nuts. And like then Vidianto could look at a rest in peace and go like, yeah, but there's 10 power on the board. So yeah, the important thing here is if you want to see John Martin win this, if you're a fan and want him to win, the important thing is that Vidianto mulligans low and has an awkward hand because he's aggressively going towards rest in peace. If Vidianto keeps his hand, there's a high chance that he's going to win the game. Since he's at 7, he's most likely going to look for hands that interact very favorably with Dredge.
We got the JVL cam in effect here.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't think he knows that camera's on.
Yeah.
Oh, we can see it now.
Yeah. It looks like, yeah.
It looks like VD may have kept, and Sean is examining the opening 7. Hi, Jake. Oh, man. You got to love that guy.
Oh, okay. So it seems like John Martin...
No, Andy. All right, here we go. Let's get in. Hey, he's going for a mulligan.
Yeah, the Dredge deck mulligans really well, though. You can mulligan to 4 and win the game. That's not a problem.
Okay.
I think we've done it, actually. So
wow, that's impressive. That is not easy to do.
Here are the cards you care about. Land, Faithless Looting, and some other nonsense that looks okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Faithless Looting, I remember when it was printed, man. I love that card. It was just like, I could not stop raving to my teammates about how good that card was, but they were like, well, look, we're in standard. It's probably not going to be good enough. And I just couldn't admit defeat. Eventually I did, but finally we're seeing the format where Faithless Looting is expressed as it should be.
Oh, that's great. Wait, is VD mulliganing too now?
This is interesting.
That was weird.
Yeah, since John mulligan first... Unless, yeah, and he's not on the play most likely. So, yeah, this is weird. I don't know what happened here. I assume we could get some update here.
I guess we could ask.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find any.
Yeah. Because like for those wondering like why I'm kind of curious what's going on here is Vidianto lost the game 1, and usually. In Modern especially, you want to be on the play. Deciding to be on a draw is extremely rare action, reserved to a very small subsection of matchups. On average, it is, if you say play in Modern, you're usually just right.
Yeah.
Point blank. So it was a bit strange to see John Martin mulligan first, or take the action, the physical action of mulliganing, since normally Vidianto being on the play would have to say so first, if he decided to. But yeah, for sure, John Martin mulliganing is definitely less bad for him than for Vidianto. Vidianto mulliganing and losing a card is a higher cost. And the main reason for that is Vidianto needs 4 or 5, up to sometimes 6 lands to operate, while John Martin can operate off 1 or 2. And that difference in lands is the difference in like the cards, right? Like John can go like, I don't really need these lands. So he can be with less cards and still be efficient, while Vidianto, and if he doesn't hit 4 mana, is not going to have access to some of his most powerful spells, like the Cryptic Commands, Supreme Verdict, which he probably will have to keep.
Yeah, it is a mana-intensive deck. So this should be on Vidi here. He's deciding if he wants to keep his 6. And they've kept.
Right.
All right, so we're going to get a game 2 from these 2 players shortly.
I don't know, like scrying top, I usually consider like a lack of value, even though it's obviously better.
Really? You're that guy? Like I could have got more out of this?
Of course, you always want value.
That's great. That is true. I do always
like
want
the
value.
Serum Visions right here.
Yes, you're right. And he got the card that he put on top and then scry 2 to the bottom. Land, Faithless Looting?
There we go. That's
kind of all it can be there, so there we go.
That's what the Dredge deck wants. It wants turn 1 Faithless Looting. That's like the best card in the deck. I played the deck on stream with Zen Takahashi, who's like played Dredge and done very well with it at various online events.
Right.
And he was we were kind of discussing the deck as we were going, and he was like, you can kind of keep any hand with land Faithless Looting. Mostly.
It's that important.
Yeah, it's that important. It's that powerful. And like a lot of the other hands are mulliganable. You can be mulligan because it doesn't contain Faithless Looting.
So let's see what he gets rid of. He gets rid of a Bloodghast and a Golgari Thug, it looks like. So he's got a Dredger going, and a land can bring back a Bloodghast. So I can see why it's good now.
Yeah. I love that you said get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah. In other words, put them exactly where he wants them to be.
They're both in comeback mode.
Exactly. And look at that. He even hit a Narcomoeba off of the dredge.
Yeah.
And now there's a Conflagrate in the yard, too, a land and a Neonate. But still.
It's kind of interesting because John Martin did have that Amalgam in hand. So it's interesting that he decided not to go, say, discard Amalgam Bloodghast, and rather wanted that Dredger in the graveyard right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Martin did have this decision to go, well, I just want, I can either just dredge, or I can just focus on getting 5 power on the board. And he decided, like, okay, I want to dredge.
Okay, well, he's going to get 3 power.
Yeah.
Thanks to hitting the Narcomoeba.
For sure. But yeah, even though he got a Narcomoeba, this wasn't like what John Martin was looking for. He was really looking for another Dredger. That was the key. So now Vidianto, right? But Vidianto knows this. It's relatively clear. So he's gonna hard try to stop this faithful swing, but like missing that land drop. Wow, no white stars missing the land drop.
Super brutal here for Vidianto. I wonder if he has the. I wonder if he has his key sideboard cards in hand, but just doesn't have the mana to cast them. You know,
I saw a glimpse of those Rest in Peace towers.
Okay.
And I think that if you keep Serum Visions, Blue Source, Rest in Peace, that's a totally fair keep at 6. But you can see the power, right, of like how these decks work, like Dredge. Basically, they rely on their opponents going, well, I need this hate piece. So again, as I was saying earlier, right, the opposing hands are going to be worse as a result, because you need to like look for these Rest in Peace, etc. But like your hand may just not be good.
He's just going to discard his hand to Conflagrate here.
Yeah, so basically...
No, that's the one way to get a Dredger in the yard.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to get a Dredger in the yard. He goes for Conflagrate, discarding 4. The discard is actually part of the cost of the card.
Okay.
So in this instance, even if Vidianto decides to counter the Conflagrate for 4, which he may decide to do, well...
The damage is done, huh?
The discard happened, right?
Yeah, not the literal damage, but the...
Right. There's that Prize Amalgam. I can't see quite the other card, but it looks like also a Bloodghast. So most likely John Martin kept a land and deals 4 here. Play might decide... Yes, this is interesting. I think that here John Martin should play a fetch land and look to get a Bloodghast. So John Martin can decide, I want to play around Rest in Peace and get his cards back because Vidianto doesn't have white for Supreme Verdict.
Right, he needs double white for it.
Right.
So getting back the Bloodghast and the Prize Amalgam seems pretty strong here.
Yeah, and this would be the standard play, right?
Right.
But like the other option, if Vidianto didn't have Rest in Peace and had white mana, would have been to go second main phase, Bloodghast, and then Rest in Peace.
Plains off the top, by the way.
Yeah, it might be too late.
Yeah, I was going to say, are we in business here? Like, could he go, like, Plains, Rest in Peace, Plains off the top, wipe your board?
Yes, that's
what we're looking at here?
That's what we're looking at. Okay. There are some other ways to get there. Definitely the Rest in Peace coming down is super important. Let's see, this is 7-8 damage, and Vidianto's at 14. So it might be that Vidianto has to deal with the board first. That is not a good position to be in, though. It really depends on the texture of his hand. If Vidianto has a removal spell for that Prize Amalgam, this might be the time to fire it off.
Something like a Celestial Purge or some of the cards we saw on his sideboard.
Yeah, this might be the time because. But the problem is John Martin has a Faithless Looting and a Dredger, so Vidianto has to choose, because if he Celestial Purges or paths the Amalgam this turn, the clock goes from an apparent 2 turns to 3 turns, assuming nothing else happens. And later he can't do that because John Martin will deal 8, Vidianto goes to 5, and basically you could remove the Amalgam, that's still 5 damage.
Yep.
So Vidianto has to choose, okay, basically he has to calculate his odds. He has to calculate what are my odds of, depending what's in his hand, what are my odds of drawing a land or the relevant card. So here he decides to go for the Rest in Peace, shut down any additional pressure from John Martin.
And just pray to rip a white mana source?
If he has Supreme Verdict.
Right.
I mean,
he has to have a plan of some sort. It probably involves drawing a land next turn, like it could be Cryptic Command.
Yeah. I saw a lot of blue cards and a Path to Exile. So the other side of the plan could be to play Snapcaster Path, not flashing it back, just going Path your Amalgam, block your Bloodghast, go to 2, and then hopefully draw something.
Wow.
Because once John Martin's board is gone, that gives him a shot to come back. That gives Vidianto a
huge
great
draw
shot.
step for Wijaya. Wijaya probably needs to find some white mana here. He needs to deal with the board now. He has the rest in peace. He shut down the graveyard options, but he needs to kill these creatures. And at only 5, he can take out both Bloodghast and go to 1.
Yeah, this seems,
boy.
It's tough. But this seems like a good line, depending on what else is in Vidianto's hand. I mean, being at 5 life, his hand is kind of forced. He has to get rid of these Bloodghast.
He's going to be at 1 now.
Yeah, Cryptic Command will also be super powerful here, since none of the cards are recastable, so he can go tap, bounce the Amalgam, and that kind of works.
Yeah, the problem, of course, now is that he's going to take 4 damage, go to 1, and a lot of his land drops are shut off at that point. You know, his fetch lands are dead.
Well, thankfully, this is why Vidianto's playing blue-white. You don't take too much damage from your lands. There's only 4 flooded strands.
Okay, so that doesn't. So those are not outs, but that's actually not as bad as it could be.
Right. The main issue though is blue. There's no dual lands, so Cryptic Command needs exactly an island or a Glacial Fortress, or Mystic Gate. Hallowed Fountain comes into play tapped. Rude Halo, the uncastable.
Halo, he can't cast it.
I have seen Path to Exile. He needs something
but
on top.
Narcomoeba has flying, so that line that you mentioned, by the way, could work. Snapcaster Mage, Chump Block, Path to Exile, your Narcomoeba.
You do what you have to do.
Exactly what I was thinking. And then Cold Rip into another Path or a Celestial Purge or something along those lines. All right, Path to Exile. But what does he have for double blue that can kill the lethal Narcomoeba?
I can't think of a card off the top of my head.
Is he just going through the motions here?
It looks like it. I don't think there's a single card in his deck. Yeah,
yes, he was just going through the motions. So John Martin evens things up for his team.
The Cryptic.
So frustrating for Wijaya. Missed that 1 land drop. And a good draw from John Martin. Getting off to a quick start on turn 1 with Faithless Looting leads him to victory. And that means the deciders in Standard. We've got William Ho. Logan Nettles is on 0 game wins so far. William Ho is on 1. And he's got Chandra Torch of Defiance, which is apparently targeting whatever that Vizier of Many Faces is. And now he has Chandra on an empty board.
Yeah, and they both have they both had a card. So now this is really, well, this is what happens in these grindfests sometimes. It comes to the top of the deck. But the Chandra, as you say, in play is very important. When it comes to the top of the deck, if one of you gets to draw 2 cards a turn, that's really powerful.
Yeah, and it happens very quickly, right?
Yeah.
You pass the turn, they get their 2 cards, you think, okay, I'm still in this. You draw a land, you pass a turn, and it's like, this is over.
Yeah.
You know, they're just up too many cards on you so quickly, especially if one of the 2 cards in hand for Logan Nettles is in attune with Ether. The other one better be, Glorybringer or something really powerful.
Yeah.
He's got the Vizier of Many Faces in the graveyard. Nothing on board that it can copy. It's just stranded.
Right. But actually that Vizier of Many Faces makes it interesting because William Ho may not be able to cast anything off his Chandra, say a Glorybringer. Because of the way the life totals are right now, 8 to 20, getting a Glorybringer out of Chandra, William Ho might not be able to cast it just because of the threat of that Vizier of Many Faces.
He's passed the turn back to William. This tournament is Williams to win for his team. He just needs to finish off Logan Nettles and complete the 2-0, and they will be our champions here. And Logan Nettles, by the way, that's Jabberwocky on Magic Online for those of you that play, and he is a very well-known and very well-respected player, especially on Magic Online. He's going to be playing in the Magic Online Championship. Like, this guy's a big deal and a very good player.
I wish I could qualify for that tournament one day.
It's such a sick tournament, too.
It's insane. But yeah, here you can kind of see like the Chandra. The Chandra got into another 2-for-1, the Rogue Refiner.
Yep.
The Servant of the Conduit doesn't look impressive, but that 2 energy makes the Aether hubs work. It means that any, let's say, Virtuoso that gets top-decked or Hydra can protect itself or can make more Thopters. And this is, oh my God.
Another one of these Attune with Ethers for poor Logan Nettles. That is not what he wants to see here. Now, he does now have a target, though, right? for his Vizier.
Right.
He could make a Rogue Refiner and see if what he hits.
Yeah, but this is kind of the thing is, right, Logan is under the enough pressure that he has to kind of do this.
Yeah.
Unless he drew another card that he can cast this turn. Simply because if he declines to get anything, William Ho's like, okay, I'll just attack for 5 and then 2 you with this Chandra. And then you take 7 a turn and you're done. So Logan Nettles is just forced to kind of get this Vizier. You want a more interesting target, but you just can't because William Ho has more than enough pressure on the board as stands.
Ooh, he drew the card that I think they said was his best card of the weekend, which was Commit to Memory, I believe.
Commit Memory here would be incredible.
I think that's what he drew.
He would get to get rid of the Chandra. He's at tons of life, so he can still take this hit. And
we might have a game here.
And he also has more mana, so I really hope that's Commit Memory. I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see that time reversal. Or, Time Twister. It's closer to Time Reversal because Time Reversal is the same card but costs more mana.
Hey, we've seen it on camera. It is insane. Wow, look at that. Rogue Refiner, though, for William Ho. He is pulling far ahead of Logan Nettles, even if it is a Commit to Memory.
Yeah, look
at the board.
Yeah, the main issue is for Logan here is like he's falling way too far behind on the board.
Right.
And the Commit Memory, even with that much mana, your opponent still gets first crack, right? They get to cast their spells first. So usually that's why you don't see memory cast much, even though players have the option. They only do it when they're kind of in desperate mode. However, if you drew Commit Memory, this is getting to desperate mode. The main issue, though, is that Logan can't cast Commit and Memory in the same turn without drawing, like, say, another land. So, yeah, he can commit and then he can Memory, but the speed plus the pressure that William Ho is putting between that Chandra and the Rogue Refiners and the Servant it's going to be hard for Logan to come back. I'm trying to see, like, a River's Rebuke or something like that might give him the time he needs.
Okay. He's being attacked now by Rogue Refiner. William Ho's going to send it in.
Yeah.
He's got an abundance of resources and feels like Chandra's pretty well protected, so may as well start getting at that life total.
Yeah, indeed. But like you can see like that William Ho doesn't want his Chandra to get off. That's why he decided not to attack with a Servant of Conduit here.
That's right.
You can deal William Ho has more than enough pressure to finish this game. He doesn't need to do much. He needs Logan needs to do something here. William Ho is a little weak now to a top deck Glorybringer though. Logan decides to trade because you might as well prevent the damage here. It's not like your Rogue Refiner is going to get much more value. So you might as well trade here.
By the way, there was a misstep there from William Ho. I think he had actually played an additional land this turn, though it looks like he's picked it up. There was a swamp that he had played.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he had access to 6 lands last turn. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So
I guess he just picked it up. But, okay. Anyway, back to Logan Nettles. Let's see if that was Commit to Memory, and let's see what he can do to try to find his way out of this mess, because if he can't, William Ho's going to win his match and the round, and in fact the entire tournament. We'll go to William Ho, John Martin, and Jeremy Frye in really an incredible performance. I mean, this is a field full of great teams.
Yeah. Great
and
formats,
three relative unknowns, right? At least compared to some of the players that we've had in the feature match area over the course of the weekend. Taking this thing down is a super impressive feat.
Yeah. This is, most people may not know Logan Nettles, Vidianto, Wijaya, and Jonathan Anghelescu, but it's not because you don't know them that they're not insane.
Yeah, and if you watch a lot of GPs, you will know these. I mean, these guys do pop up. I mean, Logan doesn't travel a ton. Vidianto used to travel all the time, only every once in a while. Jonathan, he's from Europe, so we don't always get him on camera, but yeah.
You were right. It was Commit Memory.
Okay, well, how about we get rid of Chandra? Oh, and he did draw a land for the turn, but it was a tap land.
Oh, that's brutal.
That's a beating. Man, Logan cannot buy a bucket here, but he has stemmed the bleeding a little, and you mentioned he's at 18 life, so he does have something to play with. It's not like he's going to die this turn.
Yeah, he's probably fine as long as William doesn't put a ton of pressure down this turn, although that doesn't look like not a ton of pressure.
That looks like exactly a ton of pressure. It has to be Vraska Relic Seeker.
Oh, that's harsh. That right there is extraordinarily harsh.
William Ho is a mean, mean man.
Oh, he has something else?
What else does... Oh, another Rogue Refiner, too.
Oh my gosh, this is. But you can kind of see like why these black versions of the energy decks are ahead. Like you get to play these walkers that are just unreal. Like the fact that Vraska here is gonna like make a menace pirate is like so. Like Logan is like, okay, I guess I could time twister, but
he's so far behind now.
Yeah,
and of course Vraska sitting at a cool 8 loyalty as well. You know, there's no Glorybringer that's going to come down and kill a Vraska, and this one is starting to look very bad for Logan Nettles and company, and very good for William Ho.
Okay. Let's construct a world where Logan wins this game. Since I think William Ho, how he can win this game, well,
just keep playing with the cards he has on
let's
board.
just have the cards we have. That's all good.
Yeah, okay.
Logan is probably going to have to... He has 2 lands, so his only action is to memory, really, this turn. He's just considering which land to play, which lands to keep untapped. But here...
Oh, boy.
The card he really wants is going to be River's Rebuke.
Yes.
Because that's the only card that will allow him to catch up the nonsense board that William Ho will have in play. Without...
Especially given that William's going to have drawn a fresh 7 with a ton of mana available and a big board as well, right?
Yeah. Now, William won't probably won't have boarded in the negates. He might board in 1 or 2. Obviously, if William boards in a negate and draws it, like it's basically over because the board is pretty much unreal in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can kind of see like the difference here is like, well, the desperation. So yeah, Logan, I believe, played his land for the turn, and yeah, now he's working with 5 lands. He can't really play another one that he would draw.
Mm-hmm.
So at 5 mana, the hand he's hoping to draw is going to be a bunch of removal spells, River's Rebuke, and then on top of that, things like Virtuoso, Rogue Refiner that allow him to kind of stabilize, have board initiative, and then go on top after that.
Okay, now, does this also mandate that William Ho draws kind of not a lot of things, like 5 lands?
Yeah.
Whatever, a Servant of the Conduit, like that kind of, like he has to draw poorly as well in order for this perfect scenario that we're trying to to craft for come together. It is a tall order, to say the least.
Yeah, William would have to draw like a horrible 7,
Mm-hmm.
like just a bunch of lands, attunes, nothing much. But post board, both decks have a lot, and William has access to some incredibly powerful cards like Scarab God. Another Chandra. The Chandra could come back.
And look at this. William's like, great. I get 7 cards. He only had 1 card left in his hand and a ton of mana. So let's see if Logan can even begin to start chipping away at this huge deficit that he finds himself in. Because if he can't, we've got our champs.
Yeah, for sure. I like how, by the way, William Ho showed his hand to his teammate. I know you're excited and everything when you're like in these situations, but sometimes it's best not to do it too quickly so that your teammate doesn't give away what's in your hand.
Yeah, what if his teammate was like, oh, yes! I guess that wouldn't matter in this spot, would it?
I think you could do that, but just to intimidate your opponent.
Sure.
Not Logan, but yeah.
Yeah, Logan's a chill guy. He would not be intimidated, but I like it.
Yeah. One card that could have helped if you're looking to, build your standard decks, one card that could be interesting in the sideboard of these energy decks is Hour of Devastation for spots like this.
Okay, now you mentioned that this was part of the puzzle, cards like Whirler Virtuoso to help him stabilize. Unfortunately, in Attune with Ether, there's another one, and that's not going to get him even another Thopter worth of energy, at least not yet. But he'll have 14, and he will be able to not die next turn. I guess you live with that.
Yeah. The Whirler Virtuoso is like pretty much the card you needed. Like I can't really construct a world where Logan wins this game where Virtuoso wasn't hitting play at some point.
So one of many check boxes has been checked.
One of the most important aspects of this Virtuoso, William Ho's at 8.
Sure.
And 4 Thopters.
Sure.
They can get there because Logan can take 1 more hit.
With everything.
Yes.
3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, go to 5.
Right. He can't take more. So now the question for William is like, how can I lock this game away? Yeah.
Looks like he's going to keeping his board going with a pirate here.
Yeah, his line might be, if he has drawn a haste creature or a Scarab God, his line might be to ultimate Vraska to put Logan Nettles to 1 as a backup option. He'll rather attack and rather keep the Vraska, but you never know what could happen. And then, the Scarab God trigger or Glory Bringer or something of that sort could.
By the
could
way,
do the job done.
they're all evened up.
Yeah. Actually, I apologize. I don't think William Ho is playing Glory Bringer, so because he's on the 4-color energy list.
Sure.
But the Scarab God or Chandra could also do the job. Here.
Also, wasn't Logan supposed to be at 14 energy? I felt like he was.
No, he had 7, added 2 for the attune, and 3 for the Virtuoso as a shortcut.
He just did it at once.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
However, the 14 energy of William Ho is a real problem, especially with that Virtuoso.
Oh, yeah. That locks off that line of play, and you can see the door closing on Logan Nettles, and his team made it all the way to the finals, but this one is very much slipping away as William Ho, John Martin, and Jeremy Frye are on the precipice of winning this Grand Prix. John Martin beat Vidianto Wijaya in the modern match using Dredge. And Jonathan Anghelescu actually made pretty short work of Jeremy Frye against the Grixis Delver deck of Jeremy. Jonathan was on Sneak and Show and just kind of slapped him around. It was fast.
It was great. He basically, both games, just got a quick show intel with Force of Will backup. And the Grixis Delver deck did not draw enough of its disruption. In first game, 1 piece, and in second game, 0. So it just wasn't there. As for this exact board right now...
Yeah, are we talking Rivers, Rebuke, or Bust at this point?
Pretty much.
Even then...
Yeah. Maybe Logan's found another line based on what he's drawn. One thing I did not necessarily like here is William should probably have attacked with that Rogue Refiner. It's not like he's blocking anything here.
Right.
The Glory Bringer would have haste and flying. The Thopters have flying. So there's not really a reason not to attack with the Rogue Refiner here.
Okay.
Unless it was just cast and I missed it, which is probably the most likely scenario.
It does. So
that's why he wouldn't have attacked. Yes, of course.
So that and the Virtuoso this turn makes sense.
But for me, keeping the Servant back is interesting. He does have access to a ton of cards, and the fact that he decided to make a pirate with Vraska rather than kill the Virtuoso, force the action on Logan, plus get that treasure for extra mana. For me, the fact that the Servant is back, plus these other aspects, tells me that it's most likely that William Ho has 2 2-mana interaction spells, such as this Hardness Lightning we're seeing now.
Okay. He wants 4 mana available rather than 3, and was willing to give up 2 damage for that. So here we go. Harness Lightning targeting Whirler Virtuoso.
Right. So the golden question, how many Thopters? Because if Logan has the Reverse Rebuke, this is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, because you basically turn the Hardness Lightning into destroy 12 energy.
Sure.
Plus get to bash in for a bunch.
Now, William has Negate in hand.
William has Negate.
He has Negate in his hand.
Then I put Logan's chances at being pretty low. Since William can just make tokens and most likely just negate a Reverse Rebuke if it came along.
Protect them.
Yeah. Unless, of course, Logan hasn't negated himself.
Sure.
That would be great.
That would be absurd. So he does make a bunch of Thopters and then lets the Harness Lightning resolve. So you see the Whirler Virtuoso hits the graveyard, but still 4 mana available for William Ho. And what does Logan have? Because we've been thinking River's Rebuke since before he cast Memory. And it just seems to be a key piece of the puzzle regardless, as he is so far behind on board and is, in fact, behind on life total now as well. Is this Rebuke? He does have River's Rebuke.
You said he had Negate.
He does negate. Does he have one to negate back?
Come on, have the Negate, please. A game free would be... Oh,
he
Supreme
has Supreme Will, and there is not enough mana over there.
Imagine a world where that Vraska had killed the Virtuoso.
Yes.
With a treasure for the Supreme Will.
Does William Ho have another negate in his hand?
It doesn't appear so. Wow, so if William Ho had used the Vraska to kill the Virtuoso off and force the action, he would have had that treasure and been able to pay the free for that Supreme Will. But instead
the River's Rebuke is resolving, and there goes his board.
And Logan is attacking William Ho down to 2.
Down to 2 here for Logan Nettles, trying to make a massive comeback.
Wow, that comeback. Wow.
Unbelievable.
That Harness Lightning to make sure the energy is gone and the Virtuoso's also gone, so it's harder for William Ho to rebuild. That whole sequence of Rivers of Youth with the Supreme Will, the fact that William Ho did not use the Vraska to destroy the Virtuoso, taking 2 more damage, not having that treasure to play for Supreme Will, that he knows Logan has 2 of and is most likely going to board in.
This is unbelievable. Now, can William Ho restabilize this board? This one looked like it was in the books. And now, all of a sudden, Logan has William Ho down to 2, and he's got 5 creatures on the battlefield.
I mean, that was just impressive. I mean,
unbelievable stuff from Logan Nettles and his team there.
Yeah, I was extraordinarily impressed. Logan saw the line, and he took the line, and he went all the way. And
I love it. Remember, this is the culmination of him drawing Commit to Memory.
Casting it over 2 turns, right?
Turns. Yeah. Rogue Refiner's not going to get the job done.
No, it's definitely not.
That's where he's starting, though.
I think the more impressive part as well is like William was about 90% to win the game, maybe a bit more. But and this is where like I know PGO didn't top 4, but a key reason that they do well, a key reason especially Owen does well, is that Owen is a specialist at winning games that are won. So Owen, if you ever want to learn how to lock a game that you've won, watch Owen Turtle well played. He's
not giving up those 5%, 3% down the stretch, which is what William did here.
Yeah, the fact that he wanted to keep that Vraska, but his board was so great, like just killing the Virtuoso, having that treasure to play for the Supreme Will. Like if he had planned out, like if he had really fought with the negate, if my opponent has the Supreme Will as backup because, he drew a ton of cards, yeah, then William would have been the winner of this game. But I mean, I don't necessarily fault him. These are long tournaments. These are really hard games. Standard is extraordinarily grindy. It's just that decision did not pan out. So here...
is he dead?
No. Most likely...
Virtuoso?
No. So he decided here to go for the line that saves him, play a bunch of energy, and the Virtuoso.
Okay, but this lets him make 3 Thopters. He would still go to 1.
Basically, if Logan Nettles has a singular removal spell for a Thopter, that's
win?
it. And we get to a game free.
Unbelievable. Let's see what happens here. Does Logan Nettles have the win here, or are we going to continue this incredible game of Standard to decide this Grand Prix? Oh, he's going to cycle. He's going to cycle.
Oh, man. This is great.
Let's see if he finds a removal spell. He's drawing it really slow.
Yeah, I don't think Logan's the type of person to slow play. So, yeah, probably he did need to cycle here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He could just be being thorough.
Let's
see what happens.
White bordered. Wow, Logan is drawing a lot of his basic lands, which he's playing white bordered cards because white bordered basics because they let him fetch quickly. You just look at your deck, you go for the white border card. It's
he's certainly not playing them because they look nice.
That would be an accurate statement. So sorry for fans of Revised out there. But yeah.
But I mean, it would be natural that he's basically out of gas here anyway, right? Because he drew 7, but probably 3, 2 to 4 of those were lands. He had exactly what he needed. It wouldn't be shocking to see that he's a little bit out of gas.
Right.
He's also at 7 and has to remember his own life total here. This game just does not stop.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Logan here, more than anything else, I'm just double checking. I don't think there's a method for him to deal direct damage. I don't see a Chandra Torch of Defiance in the list.
Yeah, that's a card that comes to mind, isn't it?
Yeah, and Glorybringer will easily be blocked by a Thopter down the line. And the problem here is that Logan could attack, trade free Thopters, as you say, put William Ho down to 1, but then he untaps, plays a bunch of energy cards. That Virtuoso is going to make more Thopters. So
yeah, right. And on top of it, William Ho also has lethal lined up here. Like he's got 7 power on the ground. If he could get rid of the Virtuoso, assuming Logan didn't find another 1 energy here, he could just kill him.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm pretty sure if William Ho just untaps, he wins.
He's going to get to win if he untaps.
Yeah.
Remember, his hand is stacked. He went to discard. He discarded Vraska, right? Like he's got a lot going on. He had a rather large and well-built-out board returned to his hand, and over the course of 2 turns, he will be redeploying it. But the question right now is, can Logan Nettles finish him off and complete one of the best comebacks I've ever seen in the booth, from the booth here?
Yeah, what we need
to slipping away?
Yeah, it is. But what we need to remember though is that Logan saw the line. He didn't get there. That doesn't mean that it was clearly correct. And you shouldn't, if you're playing these games and you need to find those lines, and maybe you won't win. It's okay. These things can happen. But it seems like he has one spell left in hand. I do not know what that spell is. High chance we're going to find out soon, though.
He's forcing the trades here. So this could be it. If he has the removal spell, we could see it. I assume he would have just gone for it earlier because the hand is forced here for William Ho. He's going to make 3 in trade. William Ho's going to fall down to 1. He did not have the removal spell. And he just passes the turn back, and this is great news for William Ho, John Martin, and Jeremy Frye. They have to breathe a huge sigh of relief just for the fact that they get another turn here at all.
Yeah, and getting that turn is very close to getting the game, actually, just because.
Which would give them the match and the round.
At the tournament.
And the trophy, $5,000 each, etc.
That was an expensive untap step.
It really was.
Wow. The winners get $5,000 each, 6 pro points, I believe. But everybody in the top 4 gets an invite to Pro Tour 25th anniversary. They get to play together again.
Big stakes.
So, yeah. But, yeah, winning this Grand Prix, the trophy, man, I'm top 8 to some Grand Prix, but winning would be incredible.
Seriously, especially team. It's so bonding and awesome, and you get somebody to celebrate with right away no matter what.
Yeah.
All right, well, now William just has to decide how he wants to redeploy his board, basically. And this is kind of what you were talking about. He has returned to a dominant position in this game, and now he needs to make sure that he plays very tight, doesn't leave those little openings for, I guess I can't actually pay for that Supreme Will. That kind of thing can't happen again. And he needs to finish off Logan. Here it is. Vraska Relic Seeker. Now there's a negate. So that was the last spell in hand there for Logan Nettles. He was going to just go for the win.
Yeah.
So
I would guess that Logan, by the way, top decked that negate because for sure he would have played negate over Supreme Will in that spot.
Because he could dig later.
Yes, the digging ability would have been really critical.
Right.
So for sure he would have. I would assume that Logan has drawn the negate. I would like this turn.
Okay.
Or like the turn before. He wouldn't have had access to it. It would be very surprising to me if Logan decided to play Supreme Will over negate in that spot.
It looks like William might be lining up a Vizier of Many Faces. Get himself probably another Hydra, but it also means more Whirler Virtuosos. He can get another Flyer.
Oh, well, this Chandra is...
He also could just kill the Whirler Virtuoso. Yeah, he's going for it. He's going to kill him. He's assuming that Logan's out of gas, which he is, and he's got a lethal attack. And oh boy, did they avoid disaster with this one. But this is a lethal tournament-winning attack. Nothing left for Logan Nettles. He's got to extend the hand. William Ho, Sean Martin, and Jeremy Frye. Boy, they made it interesting for us, but they are our champions here. Sunday Night Magic in Santa Clara. We've got our champs, Eduardo. My God, I thought I was going to have a heart attack on that game.
That was an awesome game of Standard to end on. Wonderful. Seriously, that was incredible. That whole line.
Unbelievable stuff.
That commit memory. Well, actually, 2 turns. Commit and then to memory.
Mm-hmm.
Get the Virtuoso, then untap. Get the River's Rebuke with counter backup, which William Ho could have stopped with that Vraska by getting a treasure. Did not. Supreme Will got in there. And then Logan Nettles just needed any removal, a Glory Bringer, and just it. At the very last second, did not get there.
Okay, and that's going to do it for the finals here from GP Santa Clara.